Welcome everyone to the West Wimmera Shire Council's meeting for April. Today we are here in Apsley. If we could all please be standing. David, if you could please read the acknowledgement to the country. The prayer.
Wimmera Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, pays respect to the elders past, present and emerging. Let us pray. Almighty God, we humbly ask your blessing upon this council, guide and prosper our decisions to the advancement of your glory and the true welfare of the people of West Wimmera Shire.
Amen.
Have any apologies?
Mr. Mayor, no apologies on the only email that I've received is for Councillor Hicks that that's not able to attend physically in Apsley today.
So Councillor Hicks has requested to attend online. Is anyone prepared to move? Would that be allowed? Moved by Councillor Houlihan, second by Councillor Hobbs. All in favour? That is carried. Have any leaves of absence? Are there any conflicts of interest from anyone? Not, we'll move on. Item 5, have we received any questions on notice?
Mr. Mayor.
As we have no gallery, I don't believe we'll need to suspend standing orders, so we will go past that item on the agenda. We shall move to the delegates' reports. Just say the most of mine there will be taken as read, but we did have our CMAC meeting, and again, the council once again gave the CEO a outstanding result. And again, we thank David for all the work that he does put in here, and we are working together as a very good team. So thank you, David, for that. Thank you. Councillor Hobbs.
Yes, so as read, I didn't attend the LGA psychosocial hazards due to a clash, but I have got the recording that came through this morning, so I will watch that later on. I did attend 2 of the FRRR meetings, the first one with Councillor Richard Hicks. We had a few come to the Coniva one. I also attended the online one with the whole of the Wimmera. It is 900,000, so it is good money that we should be able to get, and it's already guaranteed. It's got to be for a community-led project. But yeah, they really did not have a huge response from any of those meetings, from what I can actually see. And that's probably largely because they were put on at quite short notice and they were during the day. Easter and Gather Round has been very, very good from what I can hear around the whole of the Shire for Easter. Their Gather Round traffic was phenomenal. That was bumper to bumper. I didn't hear of too many people staying at the Rec Reserve, but I do think it was a very good initiative. But I think unless you've got this sort of stuff on wiki camps, that's where all of those free RVs are finding the stuff and camping there. So great idea. EV charging, that has been amazing in Coniva. That they've got the 10 EV chargers there, and they've had queues. He's had queues, so he's always got people in there. Basically, supercharger, 20 people are coming in with 20% charge. They leave with 80% charge. It takes them 15 to 20 minutes. If you look at the reviews online, they are the best from that Coniva supercharger. I attended the Wimmera Agricultural Show Society dinner, and that was really, really good to see. Lucinda Smith is now going off to represent the Wimmera at state level in Wangaratta. My daughter Rebecca also was part of that Junior Ambassador Award. Cliff Allen took out the Wimmera crop thing, and Matthew Fader came second, and then Jack Sloggett was also a finalist. So I think this area did very, very well as far as all of that goes. So that's all from me.
Councillor Hobbs. Councillor Hicks.
That's read. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
You just broke up on us a bit there, so
Can you hear me?
yeah, we can now. Yeah.
Yeah. As read, thanks. I have a very poor bandwidth here, so it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah. Okay. Now you're coming through clear now. Just your first statement just sort of didn't really come through at all. So yeah. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Bretwell.
As read, Mr. Mayor, other than I did not attend the LGA cyber.
Thank you, Councillor Houlihan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The main thing that happened was over Easter, Harrow was very well supported. Had over 80 vans down on the oval, the caravan park, along the river. That's the sort of trade that keeps our shop going and our pub, our two shops. Very good for the Discovery Centre. There's people going in and out all day. So we're a bit fortunate there, and just like to thank those volunteers that work so hard at the Discovery Centre. Also, the Harrowan District Recreation Reserve was fortunate in gaining a grant for 3 scoreboards, 2 for the netball and 1 for the football. Part of the reason for the success of it is we just weren't applying for something for the football. Those days have been and gone, and here's sheer proof that when you apply for grants, got to apply for the male, female type grants. And I'd say thank you to our staff too who were involved there. Well done. Football netball season started last weekend. We were at Caniva, and I might suggest quite a good crowd there. Quite an enjoyable day, but our football netball clubs are struggling for one reason and one reason only, and that's because of the decline of the population in our rural areas. So it's just something that we're going to have to, and it's not just here in the West Wemyss Shire, it's statewide, and I'm going to suggest a nationwide thing too. So just something we might have to keep in mind in the future is support for our sporting clubs to keep them going. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Houlihan. I don't believe we have any condolences. Item 8. The confirmation of the previous minutes from the minutes held on Wednesday, the 18th of March. Schedule meeting held on the 19th of March, moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Hobbs. Is there any discussion required? If not, all in favour? That is carried. We have no business arising. We have received no notice of motion. We have 2 council forum records from Wednesday the 4th of March as well as Wednesday the 1st of April. I'm prepared. Moved by Councillor Hicks, seconded by Councillor Pretlove. No discussion required. Put that to the vote. All in favour? That is carried. We have no deputations or petitions. Item 13, under the Chief Executive Officer, 13.1, the public advertisement of 2026-27 draft budget and annual plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to present today the 26-27 draft budget and annual plan. I think it's taking the circumstances into consideration. It's a well-balanced budget. I would ask our CFO to maybe just highlight some of the main points in the document for us. Thank you.
Thank you, David. The draft budget is largely in line with the legislated Victorian model budget and includes the standard statements. Key points in the budget this year are operating revenue of 25.8 million. Maintaining our cash reserves at 4.49 million at the 30th of June, and making the borrowings at plus 500,067, well as this 1,000 financial year, so by 30th of June 2027, that will reduce our borrowings down. And the capital projects expenditure budgeted for 26-27 is at 8.27 million, so that's an increase on last year's budget. Key parts of the capital works and roads are 5.8 million, construction 1,000, plant 1.35 million, and buildings 1.57 million. As David has mentioned, I think it's a responsible budget considering the challenges we've had. It does factor in an increase on fuel costs for next year. And it's also highlights the challenges. There is an operating deficit, the challenges of getting funding to keep our capital going in future years. Happy to take any questions.
I have one quick question for you, Jason. We had initially discussed paying off $1 million. We're now going down to only 500,000. This has been driven by the price of fuel and the impacts that that's going to have.
We have allowed the fuel costs, but just to keep a little bit more in cash reserves, we did take out a voluntary $500,000 payment in 25-26. If we have savings in 26-27, then we can definitely do it.
I think it's worth noting though that is a direct result from what most previous draft that you guys seen. One of the major changes was the increase in fuel price, which was directly taken from that line payment. Yes, sure, it's yes.
Yeah, thank you. Any further questions?
I was just going to ask, you've got your operating revenue of 25.8 million, operating expenditure of 29 million. So that's like $4 million difference. Do you see that continuing, or what's happening with all of that, with that shortfall?
That's the challenge with our funding our capital renewal. So when you take the non-cash component, the operating expenditure is around 8 to 10 million depreciation. Take that out, it means we're only generating 4 or 5 million capital works ourselves, all through funding. So it's highlighting the shortfall that we've got for capital renewal.
Tom?
I think what we've got to consider here, predicting a budget with the situation we're in relation to fuel supplies and pricing, and is a task that I wouldn't like to do. So just, I'm saying well done to the staff. They've done their best. The rest relies now on what happens in the future. You know, who knows? Fuel could be $6 a gallon.
I'm actually happy to move the officer recommendation.
Councillor Brett has moved.
Second.
Hall-Hand, you're second? I think Councillor Hall-Hand seconding. He's already got his hand up here. Yep. Yep. Second.
Please.
By Councillor Hall-Hand. Councillor Brett, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes. This is the next step in the whole preparing of the draft budget and the annual plan. There's been a lot of work put into it. The staff have worked tirelessly. And this is really the officer recommendation is to put this out for community consultation. We can make any changes if necessary, but it has to be, there's a time limit on this, and it has to sit before the minister on the 30th of June. So I think we've done all the work that we can possibly do on this to get this far, and we need to have a process. We need to get it out to the community, let's get feedback, and make any necessary changes. I'm tipping there won't be too many changes, and I'm very supportive of the proactiveness of the staff to be able to pull that what we anticipated, a $1 million payment or to pay down of our loan. And I think it's really proactive to be withdrawing that to 500, committing to that. And who knows what the future holds. We might be putting the full one down anyway, but I think we're better off to have that when the future's been uncertain, particularly when, we do need to, within our budget, there's a lot on the roads network, which I think is a must focus. I think, 99% of our ratepayers, if we gave them a choice of what needed to be done, I think a focus on the road is always going to be the main priority. So diesels, that's what we choose, what we do. But so I think it's responsible, and I support this to go out to the community and go through the process. Thank you.
Mr. Second, I wish to speak to you.
Yeah, just like to support our staff. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? No, no. Look, I just want to add something quickly to it as well. And it is a great budget, but as Jason did allude to, our biggest challenge still remains getting that funding in, especially for when it comes to building roads. That is our biggest challenge. It's our biggest cost. It hits us with depreciation, it hits us with renewal costs, it hits us in every way, and that's where we need the funding as much as possible. But just one little highlight out of this little budget, I just sort of think that probably worth just pointing out, it's only a little thing, but we have set money aside into building the toilet block for Lions Park, something that should have happened 6 or 7 years ago when the money was originally put in the budget to do it. So we are committed to continuing that, and I think that's a positive step. So again, we are working in a very tight budget, but we're still able to try and do little things to help make our communities better. So this will be good. Does the mover wish to sum up?
Yes, just one thing back to what Helen, you pointed out, was that gap, and that is, it's always difficult with the depreciation gap. So we do our best with the funds we've got to try and get on top of that. But that's.
Okay, put to the vote. All in favour? That is carried. Item 14.1, the revision of the flag policy, including the banner guidelines.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this policy has been updated to include the banner policy we currently have in 2 of our towns. So there has been a reasonably significant change. So what we have in the past offered our banner poles available to our community to put their banners up at a cost to install. This policy, or including that within the policy, just provides a framework for the community to be able to do that. Other than that, there was only minor changes to the flag component of the policy, and we have included the provision for when flags will be held at half-mast. Other than that, the essence of the policy remains quite similar to the previous version.
Any questions? You are prepared to move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Hobbs, seconded by Councillor Pretloff.
Second.
Councillor Pretloff, featured again. Mover wish to speak?
No, I think it's just a makes perfect sense that you're including the banners into this policy, and it's really just a bit of a rubber stamp on an existing policy from what I can see.
Second, wish to speak?
No, I don't see.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? Wish to sum up?
No, I'm
No.
fine.
Put to the vote then, all in favour? That is carried. 14.2, the council complaints policy.
Okay, thanks again, Mr Mayor. So the council complaint policy is due for review. We've conducted our review of the current policy. We've made some minor amendments, only very minor amendments. The essence of the policy remains very much intact. Minor amendments include references to the current other council policies and closure and business days provides clarity around definitions of those days. Other than that, it's, like I said, very, very minor adjustments.
Any questions? Prepared
Moved.
to move? Moved by
Moved.
councillor Hicks.
I got it finally.
Anyone prepared the second? Second by councillor Hobbs. Does the mover wish to speak?
No, not at all. Thank you.
No discussion. We'll put it to the vote. All in favour? That is carried. Fifteen point one, the planning scheme amendments, C37 WWIM.
Mr Mayor,
Oh, wait up, before we get any further. Procedurally, as this matter was laid on the table, we will require a motion to take the matter from the table. Is anyone prepared to move a motion that we take this matter from the table?
Moved.
Councillor Pretlow. Seconded by councillor Hicks. Any discussion required? Not put it to the vote. That is carried. Thank you, Brandon.
Mr Mayor, so this report received the council resolution to adopt plan scheme amendment C37 WWIM. By way of background, this amendment, plan scheme amendment, is a policy neutral amendment following the recommendations of the planning scheme review done about 3 years ago. So in 2013, the local planning framework was established, and that set council's planning scheme and council's local strategic direction. 2021, statewide reform changed the format for all planning schemes. So we went through another review back in 2021, and there was a resultant translation policies in C36 that some of the policies didn't translate across, fully carried across. There was gaps. So in this policy neutral planning scheme review of C37, partly to tidy up spelling, change clause numbering, but also to reintroduce some of that local policy content that was not carried across, showing no gaps. It was presented to council back in October 24, time led on the table. Sense had an independent consultant, a third-party arm's length review that was presented to council before. Now, there's potentially some further minor amendments that have been discussed, but in a nutshell, there's a recommendation there that we vote the findings of the independent review. We adopt the planning scheme to the Westwood plan. We adopt the amendment to the Westwood planning scheme, subject to refinements and updates outlined in the revised amendment, including adjustments to the numbering of some clauses and other minor clarification. Planning for approval.
Any questions? Very well.
Question, I've got a couple. So in what is in front of us today, I know we've looked at this for quite a bit actually in the last few years. All or any changes that we have in front of us today classed as that's
That was the intention, the tidy up the scheme, the opportunity to, as the government is changing legislation, they move the horses in ground, we can let them in-house and we want to let it go. Paragraph adult one. Body of work, pages after that, this highlights what's been changed, changes process. It is a bit difficult to read in 2026 because the words were written in 2023, so some things have changed or been completed since then. It is a living document in a sense because it's always undergoing reviews. If there is a requirement to review plan scheme again in 2026, we have one broader review again rather than just policy neutral.
so that's my next question is, and just like I said, as far as it's due for renewal as a policy, overall policy, it's review. So I take that we will have a complete review of the whole policy. So if there were to be any changes as such, we would have the opportunity to discuss them further, and council will make that decision as to what then anything new going in or out of this.
My intended process would be to sit down early with council and look at the document in totality on the bits that are council led, so anywhere in the planning scheme where there's an amendment clause that starts with a C30 number rather than a DG number or a BC number, there what council can influence. So it'd be seeking direction from council to inform, to take to the consultant and say, we want you to go away and redraft it, reword it, present it back to council. There'll be a few iterations of doing that, no doubt. I think in the 2022 one, probably where a bit Australia was done, probably removed from council a little bit, the planning hub, and not much oversight, which is created of the timeframes here, trying to clarify. So, yeah, I would certainly encourage councillors to be fully on board with the review.
It'd be fair to say when we do review it, there's still no guarantee what we choose to put in will be put into our final planning scheme. The minister still has to approve.
So any council-led amendment can be initiated by council, but it must be approved by the minister.
Any further questions? Prepared to move a motion?
I'm prepared to move the office of recommendation, but I would also like to remove a couple of inclusions, and I would like to speak to that. So on page 4, so under the biodiversity, environment and landscape values, biodiversity, where we have included, in the inclusion, it refers to the retail Black Rock 2, relies on full oak and stringy bark trees for habitat. I would like to remove the and stringy bark trees or and stringy bark. On page 17, I would like to remove point 7, which is encourage, and this is in the inclusion, encourage development that takes advantage of benefits from sustainable land management practices. And in on the last page, 48, or sorry, 48, 49, the further strategic work. I would like to just remove halfway down where it has 4 dot points on prepare and implement the stage 2 heritage study, including, and there's 3 dot points there. Will I read those in? No, so
Understood?
yeah, those 3 to be removed.
And there's 2 parts
And the duplication.
there, and the duplication of the heritage study, yeah. Yeah, just for clarity,
I can talk to
no, just before we continue, perhaps your motion should say for point 2, adopt the planning scheme, subject to refinements and updates outlined in the meetings, including the following amendments.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than saying you
Yeah,
want to adopt it all.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
yes, it does. So is that?
It-
how
do-
do you go?
Do the minute takers understand?
Subject to requirements that's really.
Amendments.
Outlined in the revised now. Adjustment under, so like other.
And then number 3, submit.
There's 3.
Yeah, there's three, including those 3. Yeah, well, you can probably have all the point 2 as it was, but include the following 3 amendments. Yeah, so, sorry, yeah. And submit the amendments. Yeah. It's, you want to remove the words Mildura and Horsham as well? It's up to you.
Yeah, exactly. What's explained, I think we might do that actually, just to safely, and then that leaves that open. So so that's just prior to the heritage study. We can also remove those 2 words, or where it refers to Mildura and Horsham. Leave that open. Okay.
Yeah, before 4 separate amendments. Yeah.
That's all from me.
Right, that's the motion.
I'm happy to.
Right, I'll second that motion. Does the mover wish to speak?
I do. Mike, spoken previously. This is a policy neutral document. I feel there's a couple of areas which have been covered in the amendments and they are outlined as inclusions, and I believe we're about to revisit this planning scheme. So I feel like we can discuss all of these areas further and have a further understanding of exactly the impacts, particularly with this heritage study, the impacts going forward to our shire. And my concern with the development, or the point, or one of the amendments that I felt was added in, I just think that I understand that we need to follow about land management practices. I think we don't need to be including things in this document until we really have a robust conversation at council, because they can impact on the development and, in our agriculture and farming background that we know from here in Western Australia. I think we really have to be careful what does go in. Things can always be put in later. So I look forward to really going over this and having a really good chat and including what needs to be, and feeling comfortable that we're all aware of all of the changes or any changes that are applicable to this document. Thank you.
I'd just like to support what Councillor Pretlover has said. I think it's important that we don't go getting new things put into this document, because they're awfully hard to get taken out again if we don't like them. I think the biodiversity one is a very difficult one to handle. when you're trying to sort of specify certain controls for environmental overlays. So where you have red-tailed black cockatoos, absolutely, we support the protection and we support the environmental overlays. But when you make it sound like it applies to the whole Shire, I think that's going to impact unfairly on people. I think we need to be careful about how we actually handle that. Our Shire is enormous. It is massive. It takes in a whole different range of habitats for all different types of species. And so to single out one species and then that's going to apply across the whole Shire is going to have an adverse impact in areas where it shouldn't have to. I think our future strategic work, again, we now have a good body of work that actually aligns with what council actually wants to see. So I'm happy to support what we are actually putting in there with the removal of that heritage study piece. Otherwise, I think we're just going to have to accept what is already in the documents, and we're going to have to look when we get to our review on where we can actually try and improve things. Does anyone else wish to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Hoy?
Yeah, I just feel at the moment we're in one of those situations where we as a local government, we've got to be very careful what we do and where we spend money. Just got to hang back for a while. I'm going to make reference to this, but this 20 million that's being spent at the moment by our federal government telling us how to save fuel. See, you have to be very careful and not changing things too much here at the moment, so we don't have to spend a heap of money if we get it wrong. So yeah, I fully support the motion. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against? Councillor Hobbs?
Yeah, I just think happy. I think we've all gone through this quite a lot. It's been on the table for quite some time. There's been about 5 people from what I can see that have put a lot of input into it. And I just think we need to move on and focus our time and energy on the stuff that we're doing in October.
Yep.
Anyone else? Whilst just the mover wish to sum up. Right, we'll put it to the vote then. All in favour? Yep, that is carried. Have no ceiling schedule. Are there any late items of business? We have no confidential reports, which will upset council watch, I'm sure. That is the close of the meeting with no further items. So thank you all for attending. Thank you, Richard, for joining us.
It's 1:45 AM here, so I'm feeling a little bit shattered.